So I'm sure by now everyone has seen the kid getting tased at the John Kerry question and answer session in Florida. I would like to repeat that one part there, question and answer in Florida. This kid got up, to the best of my understanding, at the end of the question and answer session and was permitted to go ahead and ask one last question. He got not even completely through with his question when his mic was killed and the police showed up to escort him away from the microphone. At which point, Senator Kerry is clearly heard in all the tapes I've seen of it, all the videos I've seen, saying, "It's okay, I will answer his question." You know, if at that particular point the cops had stopped, let the senator answer his question, the kid probably would have gone away peacefully. We'll never know now, will we? Because it was just a little too fiery, I guess, the way he was presenting those questions. And I'm not going to sit here and say one way or the other if I approve or disapprove of the way he was handling himself, because that's really a moot point. That really doesn't have anything to do with the topic of conversation here. You know, heated debates are part of what made this country America, and not England Part 2 across the water. Do you honestly think that every single debate that was had, every single discussion that was had up until the point that we decided to break free of England was handled in nice, even, measured tones? No. Those are very passionate issues brought up by a lot of passionate people. If it weren't for that passion in both the people and the issues, we would be England Part 2. Okay? People seem to forget that is one of the founding principles of this country, is that you and I and that kid in Florida have a right to ask these kinds of questions. Now, okay, some of you may say, well, he was actually going on longer than the allotted time. Okay, you cut the kid's mic off. He didn't seem very happy about that, but I didn't see him pulling out a gun and threatening anyone. I didn't see him rushing the stage. I didn't see him threatening any sort of physical violence. His voice was raised. He seemed a bit agitated in his questions. What's wrong with that? That's part of having the freedom of speech. You're allowed to get passionate about things. You're allowed to demand answers. The kid was not resorting to violence by any stretch of the imagination until he was being escorted away and arrested for asking a question that the person he posed it to said, "I will answer." I mean, this brings up so many really, really frightening subjects. We can go on to at political rallies now. Both Democrats and Republicans, both of them are to blame. There are freedom of speech zones. Little sectioned off areas towards the outside of this political event, whether it be Democratic or Republican. And that's where the protesters are allowed to go. That's where the people who have ideas or questions that might not be comfortable to the person speaking or people speaking. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's those fucking uncomfortable questions that have to be asked. Trust me, when people were sitting around thinking about what was going to be involved in breaking free from England, you don't think there were some uncomfortable questions asked? You don't think there were some high passions? I guarantee you, one of those meetings, if we were able to go back in time and witness that, would have been a hell of a lot more violent in feeling than what that kid was doing. Oh, but he can't be allowed to fucking speak freely in this country? No, that's just not acceptable. No, see, in today's society, in America, land of the free, it's only free so long as you're not bugging those in power, so long as you're not making them look like jackasses, so long as you're not answering a question that they might actually have to dig in deep to answer. And to me, that's pretty frightening. That's very frightening. And it angers me very, very much more than I'm showing here. The other thing that I just want to touch on briefly before I cut the camera off is I'd like to address a statement to those people who are in the crowd applauding as this kid got hauled off by 6 cops, taken to the ground, and tased with 50,000 volts. Those people applauding, each and every one of you don't deserve the freedoms you have. For you to sit there and do nothing would be bad enough. That would be bad enough. That would be a slap in the face to anyone who's ever given their life so that you can have the freedoms that you enjoy, which are being trampled right before your eyes. But the fact that you applaud it is just an indicator of one thing and one thing only. You don't deserve the rights that you have. What remains of the rights you should have. Because in this country, today, those rights are getting taken away daily. And people like you sitting there clapping, you're the reason. Every one of you should have your rights stripped for applauding that injustice, that total bullshit. That's really all I can say for now. I may come back later when I've calmed down a bit, because if I stay on much longer, I'm going to begin screaming very loudly and very vulgarly, and that's not really the way I want to come across.